planning topics. You're going to have Eugene Thorpe, also AKA Gene. Gene's going to be covering a lot of real estate, mortgages, what's going on in the industry, and I'll be covering a lot of sustainable living and sustainable building. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Nicole. Forgive me if I say this wrong. Fuhrer.
Rhymes with beer.
Fear?
Fear.
All right. I should have asked this before the meeting. How unprofessional. All right, Nicole here. She is born in South Dakota. She's been in finance since she's 18 years old. And believe it, we need a new host.
I've been in Primerica 18 years.
Oh, 18 years.
Yeah, wow.
All right.
I didn't
Close
start
enough.
when I was 18. Impressive though. Yeah.
And although it may not look like it, she actually has a 4-year Spanish degree, so she can speak in Spanish if you need any of that. Help me welcome Nicole.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know Brian said, tell me some fun facts about you. And I'm like, I don't know. South Dakota, I majored in Spanish, and now I'm in finance. But honestly, I was always looking for this kind of stuff. I was always wondering, how does it all work? Because let's face it, they don't teach us this stuff in school. And I didn't want to get ripped off. And I didn't want to retire broke. And I always thought it was going to happen because I was a female and I had curly hair and I looked really young, but I found out that wasn't the case. You know, they'll rip off anybody. So anyway, that was really why I got involved in Primerica 18 years ago, because I wanted to know this stuff for myself, I wanted to help other people, and I wanted to work for myself and enjoy independence. So what I'm going to go through today, this way. Okay. All right. Yeah, it is. So everyone here is building a financial house. And your financial house that you're building is being built over many years. In fact, all of your working years. You guys need this? Okay. Yeah, all of your working years. So that could be 30, 40 years or more. And we have money coming in and we have money going out. Yes or no? Yes, sometimes it's going out faster than it's coming in. And so whether we want to or not, we are forced to deal with all these different areas of finances. Taxes, insurance, debt, mortgages, investing, you know, whether we want to or not. And we've never really been trained on how to do this. And so that can present a challenge, because it's said that even the most intelligent person lacking key information will not make the best decision. But someone of average means with the correct information can then make the best decisions moving forward. And so my goal tonight in the next 10 or 15 minutes is just to share with you how easy it can be to build a well-constructed financial house from the ground up. And if you guys look inside of your folders, there's a little page that you can follow along and actually write in the different layers of your financial house, if you so choose. All right, so not a trick question, and Brian can verify this, but when you start building a house, do you start with a roof? No. Where do you start?
Foundation.
Foundation. Why is that?
Gravity.
There you go. Gravity. Everything is built on top of it. So how important is your foundation?
Very.
Very. Yeah. And so it also is with our financial house. So first and foremost, we need to lay a strong foundation by protecting our income. Let's stand over here. Because this house that we're building is built on a major assumption, and that's that there's going to be money there, right? And so we need to protect against the possibility of that income going away. In other words, hey Kathy. In other words, the loss of a breadwinner, the loss of that income. And so the best way to do that is by leveraging something called life insurance. Only thing is, there's two types. There's one type that's good for the agents that sell it, and the other type is good for you and me, the consumer. And see, if we're not trained, guess which type a lot of people end up with. The wrong kind. The kind that's more expensive, pays a bigger commission, whereas the second type pays a lower commission, but it's much more cost effective. You have a much higher coverage amount, you pay a lower premium. So when we sit down with families, we actually break down the two different types and we teach you the mechanics of it. And we basically share with you all the stuff that your typical life insurance agent will never share with you and would never want you to know in a million years. And then we say, you decide. Because again, once you have the correct information, you can then make the correct decisions, right? So once we have our foundation in place, we need to continue to build our house in order. And the order is super important, just like you were building your actual house. Has anyone here ever built your own house? Or had someone do it?
Me.
Oh, okay, there you go. Awesome. And so imagine this scenario. You poured the foundation, you have the framing up, you have the sheetrock up, you've even painted all the walls, and then you say, oh my gosh, I just realized we forgot the wiring. Good or bad? Very bad. Because two things are gonna happen. Number one, that's very costly to go back and fix. And number two, that's messy. And so we don't wanna have that problem when we're building our financial house, so we continue to build in order. And the very next layer is gonna have a good, strong budget in place, fully funded emergency fund, and an up-to-date will. Basically, all a budget is telling your money where to go, instead of wondering, where did it go? And so there's some very simple and very effective ways to get a working budget in place. It does not involve an Excel spreadsheet. However, if you like those Excel spreadsheets, go for it. I'm talking pen and paper, very effective. And the result of having a working budget is you actually have money for the rest of your financial house, all those different parts. And then emergency fund. Few key points there. Fully funded means at least 3 months of expenses set to the side. And that is not a credit card, okay? Because technically that's not our money and it's way too expensive to borrow money that way. And then an up-to-date will, because if we don't have a will, the state has one for us, but we probably won't like it, right? And so these bottom two layers, these are called our defenses. And unfortunately, they're not super exciting. They're not gonna make you guys millionaires, but guess what? When you're able to put a check mark next to each one of these, you're gonna feel so good. And they're vital to have in place because what they do is they protect the rest of your financial house. They allow you to go on the offense. So once you have your defenses in place, we need a plan to control and eliminate debt. So raise your hand if you know someone in debt. Could that person be sitting in your chair? Possibly. And so the key thing with a debt elimination plan is it has to be in writing. It has to, we have to have it written. And here's something that may or may not surprise you. It always surprises me, but I see that it's true when I sit down with people. This statistic that, 44% of Americans, working Americans, could come up with $1,000 cash if there was a true emergency, meaning they couldn't put it on their credit card. So less than half of the American population has $1,000 in cash, okay?
Wow.
And so that is your first step, or when it comes to eliminating debt. The reason people go into debt is they don't have that, emergency fund built up. And so there's several ways. We have strategies, we have all kinds of stuff. It could be a debt stacking plan. It could be recasting the mortgage, because the truth is debt is eating up a lot of people's peace of mind. Not just your budget, but it eats up your peace of mind. So there are ways to handle that, to get out of that and to stay out of that, because once you eliminate debt, how much more do you have to save and invest and pay yourself first, which is the #1 rule when it comes to investing. In fact, Warren Buffett says, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. And that's pay yourself first. Brings us to retirement and our FIN number. And so if a person doesn't know their FIN number, and I just saw your eyebrows go together, Kathy, thinking hard. So basically, if somebody doesn't know their FIN number, they're at a disadvantage because they're just guessing. They're aiming at nothing and they're hitting it every time. So your FIN number is your financial independence number, and it's an identifier. It tells us, hey, if you want to retire at 65 and live off of X amount from 65 to 95, what does that even look like? And more specifically, what do you need to be doing right now today to actually hit that goal? And what if you say, you know what, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm gonna do, where are you gonna end up? And we help people with all that, the retirement and the FIN number. And after that, college. Maybe not for yourself, but for your kids. So we have access to a database of nearly every single college, every single university. We can help parents and grandparents kind of plan for that cost, but the challenge is the cost of college goes up every single year, right? And so a lot of parents might ask me, well, we have to pay for this, we have to pay for that, what do we do, how do we do it? And again, here's that order. That order is super important, so I tell them, you know what? Students today can get loans, grants, and scholarships, and then have the rest of their lives to pay them back. To my knowledge, there are no loans, grants, or scholarships for retirement. If you find one, let me know. So not that you can't do both, but there is a certain order where you want to get on track with your retirement, with your FIN number, and then start going for the college. And so once you get all those things in order, you can work on the roof. And that's the fun stuff, you guys. That's the goals, that's the dreams, the big stuff, the vacations. Not that you're not really doing that throughout, but then you can really focus on that. And so, which part of the house, though, do you think most people are trying to build first? Yeah. And how well does it work to build a house starting with the roof? It doesn't. And so where do we have to start? Right down here, kind of get everything going. And so not a trick question, but on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest, how would you rate your desire to become properly protected, debt-free, and financially independent? Yeah. And so as I finish up, I will share with you guys what you have access to and the tool that we use to build someone's financial house. It's called a financial needs analysis, and it is like a financial blueprint for your money so that you can achieve your goals. And there's 3 things to know about this financial needs analysis. Number 1, it's customized. We can sit down with someone, we can pull in their unique financial situation, put together a customized plan on paper where it gives them a bird's eye view of their overall picture, a clear path. This is how you get from point A to point B, and we work with you each step of the way. One thing that cracks me up, and we all do this, let me Google, this is how I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna Google. Well, the reason Google doesn't work too well when it comes to finances is because you're taking very general information and trying to apply it to a specific situation, right? And so it might work for a little while, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, you need that tailor-made game plan. Confidential, that's a huge thing. This is very confidential. We're not gonna sit down with you and then run over to your neighbor's house and be like, oh my gosh, do you know how messed up your neighbor is? Oh, let me tell you, no. This is very confidential, it's very big. And complimentary, start to finish. And so how do we do all of this complimentary? Also in your folder, you guys have that 1-page sheet of this one, how we're set up as a company. And so not only does it tell you these are all the different areas that we can help people in, these are our different strategic partners. When I sit down with someone, those guys that you see on there are 31 strategic partners actually that we have. They're the ones who pay me, okay? So it's not coming out of your pocket. We're not gonna put together the plan and then, oh, next week, by the way. So start to finish, it is a complimentary process. And the result of that is you're gonna be able to have that financial house that you want. And so when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's really easy to, put it off or say, you know what, there's never a convenient time. But what I would say is if any of this made sense to you tonight, I would really encourage you to take action, okay? Because It's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know that's gonna get you to where you want to be. So, thank you very much.
All